So that's the first steps
Right.
that we take. Now, if you're going to do your own self-publishing, you need to master some programs, and these programs are not easy. The key program in doing self-publishing today is InDesign. It comes from Adobe, and it takes a while to learn it. It's got a steep learning curve.
I've been there. I used to do some works for a nonprofit organization, and I did it. But I had somebody teach me.
Yeah, and there are other programs. There's some that are free that you can find out about. We happen to use one that comes from England. And because when I left business, I said, oh, I'm never going to do any computer work again. I'll just get this little program for $96. It's called Page Plus from Serif in England. But it does everything InDesign does, so we're very happy to use it.
Really?
It's much more user-friendly.
I'm sure. InDesign is not user-friendly.
Yeah, nothing.
You know, a lot less expensive. But then for doing images, we do Photoshop. There's nothing like Photoshop
Yes, you're right.
for correcting images. And people send us images and they say, why can't you use this? It looks beautiful on my screen, my monitor. It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous, but it's not set up for printing. Generally, if you're taking an image on a monitor, I don't want to go into the technical parts, but it's 72 to 96 dots per inch, and we got to get it to 300 dots per inch for printing. And then there are other decisions that have to be made. You got to decide the type of paper. Okay? There are different paper weights, different glosses on paper.
And size of the book.
Size of the book.
Yep.
Question number one.
Yeah. And the fonts.
Yes,
Yeah.
the fonts especially.
Yeah.
Endless possibilities.
And so what we'll do, now what I said we keep the author involved. What we will do is we will take a page or two and lay it out with the headings and the fonts and the size of the book,
Page numbers. Right.
and we'll then repeat that with different fonts. Send it to the author. The author can say, well, I don't like this, but I do like this. You know? Or I'd like this a little larger, or I'd like a little more space between the lines.
More margins.
And more margins, and we work with the authors, and that's the fun part. It's fun for them, and
love
it's
it.
fun for us.
It's
Absolutely.
hands-on.
Yeah.
If they're in the area, we have them come over. We sit down together and try out different things right on the screen.
Sure.
And you learn so much more that way. You don't just give them a cookie-cutter approach.
And then every book that is published in the United States is going to be for sale in bookstores, has to have what's called an ISBN number.
Would you explain that to the audience?
International Service business number.
Well, every book, if you look at the back of the book, it'll have a barcode on it, and it'll have also, part of that barcode is an ISBN number. Everybody in the United States goes by that. It's put out by one company called Bowkers. They control it through what's called books and print. So when you get an ISBN number, you go back on the web and you put in all the information about your book, and therefore everybody has access to it through books and print in the United States and Library of Congress or anywhere else.
Right.
And that is the controlling number. It becomes part of the barcode number. It's just absolutely necessary. It's expensive, for one. Less expensive.
How expensive?
For one, it's $125. For 10, it's $270, I think, now. And you can buy them in
So if you're going
groups of
to write more than one book, you want to buy 10.
That's right,
And when
yeah.
we started, you could only buy them in blocks of 10. And we thought, what are we going to do with 9 more of these? They were going quick.
And then publishers like us will make the barcodes. They have to go on the back of the books.
Right.
We also write the Library of Congress and get, what's it called? LCCN.
Yeah, Library of Congress control number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the registration with the Library of Congress? Is this
So
what
to
you're talking
speak,
about?
and when the book is published, we send a copy of the book to the Library of Congress. You haven't lived till you've gone into the Library of Congress and found your book on the shelf. It is so exciting.
Okay.
Then we do find printers. We have printers, probably 5 across the United States that we've worked with. Number of them, we've been to their plants. As I said, I've had a printing background.
Yep.
And we've talked to the people on the floor. And it really helps to be able to talk their language. I don't care what happens. Whenever you're working with a printer, there's always the chance of something going wrong. Either the time period or a page goes wrong. Because you got to remember, in today's world, everything's happening through computers. And it's happening through generally what are called PDF programs.
I have to laugh because you saw my cover when it was created.
Yeah.
And I sent it into my publisher, who happens to be Ex-Libris, and they sent me the cover galleys to approve, both the hardcover and the softcover. And since my book has got a submarine on the cover underneath the depths of the ocean, it's sort of dark, but it came out purple.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what the heck? I mean, it's supposed to be a blue-green. So before I called them, I called my graphic artist, and he explained to me that publishers today are printing 4 covers simultaneously to keep their costs down. And he says what happens is the colors average out. And that's how it came out. He says, you tell them this is what they have to do. They have to calibrate their equipment to make sure that it matches the cover that we sent in. They sent me new galleys. No problem. It was correct the second time. But it was amazing, and I couldn't believe somebody didn't notice that.
And well, the fact is that your screen looks different from my screen, looks different from John's screen in terms of color. And
True.
what I'm looking at and falling in love with may not be what is actually there at all.
Right.
So what we end up doing when we can is sending color swatches along to the printer and saying, this is the green, calibrate everything to that.
Okay.
And that
It was correct the
seems
second
to
time
help.
around, but I was really shocked it was such a big difference.
Well, let me share something we used to do.
Okay.
This is in the printing days before we did digital printing. We used to put out a magazine for primary grades, and we get this gorgeous artwork. And we learned, and I would suggest it to everybody, when the printed copy comes back, you do not put the artwork next to it. You look at the printed version and you decide if you like it. And if you like it, that's what counts. If you try to compare the two, you'll never be satisfied.
And just because you've seen something as it's been developing doesn't mean that the buyer in the store
Sees it the same
has
way.
ever seen it that way.
Right.
And that's not going to generally affect the sale of your book, I don't think.
Yep.